It is a cold evening in Boston. The sidewalks shine with a thin skin of melted snow, and each breath hangs in the air like a small white cloud before it fades. Daniel Carter stands outside the restaurant door with both hands in his coat pockets and tells himself, this is only dinner. Not a test. Not a performance. Not a measure of his worth. It is only dinner. He presses his lips together, nods once like he is answering his own thought, and goes inside. Warm air meets him first, then the soft clink of glasses and the slow hum of quiet music. He smells butter and garlic and a little lemon. The hostess smiles and leads him to a small table by the window, where a single candle burns in a low glass cup. He takes off his coat, smooths the front of his old clean shirt, and sits down with care, like the chair might judge him if he drops too fast. In his wallet is one $50 bill. He took it from an envelope hidden behind a stack of socks, an envelope he swore was only for emergencies, but his heart feels like one tonight. He places the wallet back, sets his phone face down, flips it over and flips it back again. He looks toward the door without turning his head. He tries to stop, he fails. He tells himself not to check prices before he opens the menu, but his thumb opens the menu to the right page anyway. The numbers look a little loud. He closes it, breathes in, breathes out, and hears his daughter's voice in his mind, bright and sure. Daddy, you should smile more. You look nice when you smile. He lets a small smile warm his face and feels how new that shape is, as if the muscles forgot how to do it in public. He checks the last message they sent each other. Can't wait to see you tonight. 4 words that made him shave a second time before leaving the house. 4 words that made him scrub a light ring out of his collar in the bathroom sink and clean his shoes with a dish sponge. 4 words that made him fold a paper crane with his daughter because she said, let's make a lucky bird for you, Daddy. And he wanted luck to have something to hold on to. He left the crane on his nightstand, wings spread, beak up like it might watch the house and keep it safe while he tried. Time moves in soft steps. 6:45 becomes 7. 7 slips to 7:15. The door keeps opening to let in couples who laugh and shake snow from their coats. A man kisses a woman on the temple and helps her out of her scarf while she smiles at him like she keeps a little son just for him. The candle on Daniel's table burns lower and lower, the wax pooling at the base like a slow white lake. He types a small message with careful hands. I'm here, just checking in. He places the phone on the table and stares at the dark window where the city lights blink, and the street looks like a painting someone left out in the rain. He waits for the dots to dance. They do not. He presses his palms on his thighs and tells himself he will not look again for a full minute. 1 minute is long when you are holding your breath. He lifts the phone again. A new message is there. He feels relief first, like a door opening. Then the words hit. Wow, you actually went. I was just messing with you. Sorry, you're not my type. Not worth the Uber. The next one lands fast. You seem nice, but seriously, you thought I was coming? He does not move. It is not shock. It is something else. The room stays the same, but something in him changes shape. Heat rises in his neck and takes his ears. His eyes blur, not with tears at first, but with the way you stare too hard at one spot to keep your face steady. The server stops by and asks if he would like to order. His voice has to push its way out. I'm still waiting. The server nods and moves on with a kind smile that does not touch anything deep. Under the table, Daniel opens his wallet in the shadow of the tablecloth, sees the 50, sees a 5 tucked behind it, and sees the little hollow his hope left behind when it stood up and walked away. He breathes in. He breathes out. He lifts his shoulders and sits straighter the way he does when his daughter asks, "Are we okay?" And he always answers, "We're okay." He tells himself a truth that is small but solid. He showed up, he is here. That means something even if it does not feel like much. Across the room, a woman in a dark blazer watches him from behind the rim of her wine glass. Her name is Victoria Sterling. The city knows her for the company she runs, for the numbers she can make behave, and for the calm face she wears in rooms that make other people sweat. She came here for the quiet. She came here for the light that makes edges soft. She did not come to be moved. She is moved anyway. She knows what it looks like when a person tries to hold themselves together. She recognizes the stiff back, the steady water glass, the hands that want to shake but will not. She has worn that mask in different rooms for different reasons. She does not stare. She notices. And notice is not the same as stare. It is a kind of care if you let it be. She lifts her hand and the server comes near. The house pasta, she says in a voice that does not want to be heard by anyone but him. And a sparkling lemonade. Send it to the window table and run it on my card now, please. The server nods, accepts the card, and leaves without a question. Victoria sets her phone face down on the table like she has set down a thought she does not need. Steam curls up when the plate lands in front of Daniel. He blinks like he has been woken. I didn't order this, he says, and the words sound small, almost like an apology for being seen. The server smiles gently. It's taken care of. Someone asked for you to have it. Daniel looks around, waiting for laughter, a smirk, an eye roll, a finger pointing. He hears a voice instead, low and even and close. It's not charity, Victoria says as she steps to his table. It's a reminder. You deserve to eat. Even when the world is unkind, he turns. He expects pity or a shiny smile that will make him feel smaller. He finds neither. Her eyes are steady. Her mouth is soft but not sorry. She is present in a way that feels like a hand offered palm up. He clears his throat. You didn't have to. I know, she says. That's why it matters. His hunger and his pride argue for a heartbeat. Then he lifts the fork. The first bite warms him all the way to his chest, like a door that has been stuck for years finally opens a few inches and lets new air in. He closes his eyes for one breath, opens them and looks up. Thank you, he says. There are more words inside him, but those two are enough. She touches the back of the chair across from him. May I? He nods. They do not tell their stories, not yet. They talk about the music that is too soft to name. They talk about how Boston winter can't make up its mind and changes the rules whenever it wants. She tells him the chef learned this recipe from the owner's grandmother. He says it tastes like someone's kitchen on a good day. He eats slowly, feeling each bite settle like a small stone in a jar that has been empty too long. When the plate is clean and the glass of lemonade is more ice than anything else, she takes a small white card from her blazer and sets it near the candle. He reads her name and the title under it and feels the weight of two worlds that do not often touch. She stands, gives a small nod that means nothing loud and everything quiet, and walks out. He holds the card in his palm for a long time, keeping the warmth it took from her hand. A week later, he pushes open the door of a small cafe near the public library. The bell chimes overhead. The air smells like cinnamon, coffee, and fresh bread. He steps up to the counter with the slow care of someone who must count before he asks. Before he can say his order, a voice behind him says, "Make it 2. Oat milk in his." He turns. Victoria sits near the window with a laptop open, sleeves pushed up slightly, hair pinned back not like a CEO but like a person passing a morning. The barista points to her table with a soft smile. Daniel walks over before his doubt can stop his feet. You remembered my coffee, he says. I remembered your courage, she says without blinking. The coffee is the easy part. He laughs. It is a sound that surprises him, a sound that has not been in public for a while. He sits, they do not push. They let the room fill the space between words. She tells him about a marketing line her team wrote that sounded by accident like chewing gum for babies, and how a blogger turned it into a joke the whole internet could not stop repeating. He laughs again, and it is easier this time. They talk about what kids will eat without a fight, and what they pretend to hate unless you cut it into stars. When he stands to leave, she does not ask when she will see him. She simply nods as if to say, You know where I'll be. He steps into the cold with warm hands and a thought he did not expect to have. Someone did not want anything from him. Someone simply met him where he sat. Another week passes. A message arrives. Thought this might fit your world. No pressure. Attached is a digital pass to a workshop on early childhood nutrition, hosted by her company. He hesitates because he is not a doctor, not a scientist, not anything people clap for in rooms with microphones. He is a father who makes dinners from what he can find and what he can afford. And sometimes that means pancakes at night, and sometimes that means toast and bananas, and sometimes that means saying, We'll make something better tomorrow. He goes anyway. The room is all bright light and soft chatter. People take notes with pens that glide. Slides show colorful charts and lists of things that hide in labels. He sits near the back with his shoulders a little tight. When the speaker asks for questions, his hand goes up before he tells it not to. If you don't have time to make everything fresh, he asks, voice steady but plain. What should a parent like me look for on labels? When both time and money are tight, how do we keep our kids safe and fed? The speaker stops and smiles like someone just opened a window. That's a very good question, he says, and he breaks down the answer into simple rules that feel like a real tool, not a slogan. Heads turn. No one scoffs. A few nod like they know exactly what Daniel means. Later, Daniel points out a small problem in a sample box's allergy list. 2 words flipped, one warning not as clear as it should be. The expert pauses and says, "Good catch." Victoria watches from the wall with her arms folded, not to guard, but to hold back a feeling she does not need the room to see. She has seen young staff ask smart questions to look smart. This is not that. This is a father looking for truth because truth feeds his child. He leaves before the handshake circle begins. He prefers the quiet near stacks of books to the noise near trays of fruit. At the library, Emma sits cross-legged on the rug in the children's corner, drawing a purple cat with wings. When she looks up and sees him, she runs at full speed, and he catches her like he always does, like he always will. He kisses the top of her head and says, "Purple cats fly better anyway," and she laughs the laugh that makes everything else small. Victoria stands at the door a long breath before coming in, not wanting to break the moment. Emma notices her first. She looks at her father, then back at Victoria, then back at her father as children do when they weigh a feeling. She slides down, walks to Victoria with a brave carefulness and rests her small hand on the edge of Victoria's coat. She leans in and breathes in a soft scent of lavender, paper, and winter air. "She smells like Mommy," she says, simple and sure. The air stills. Daniel closes his eyes for half a second, like light just hit a place deep in him. Victoria kneels so she is eye to eye with Emma. Her voice is gentle without being thin. "That's a big compliment," she says. "Your mommy must have smelled like kindness." Emma nods like she already knows that, then runs back to her book. Daniel takes a breath that is almost a sob and says, "She doesn't usually say things like that." Victoria nods. She does not make a lesson. She does not make a joke. She lets the moment be the shape it is. After that, a rhythm takes hold. No one plans it. It simply arrives and fits. Victoria sends him photos of product labels and asks, "Would a parent like you trust this?" He answers with the kind of honesty that has no polish and no agenda. In rooms where numbers talk louder than people, his simple words begin to matter. On nights when his shift runs late or daycare closes early, she appears with a bag of apples or coloring books or just her calm, and the apartment feels like a place where breath moves easy. Emma learns the feel of Victoria's knock and runs to the door before Daniel can set down his keys. One night, Emma has a fever. Her cheeks glow warm and her eyes look like wet glass. Daniel stirs a pot of soup too hard and the spoon clangs against the side like a small alarm. Victoria steps in with a gentle hello that does not ask for a reply. She washes her hands, kneels by the couch, and touches the back of her fingers to Emma's forehead. From her bag, she pulls out a soft cloth and a tiny bottle. She soaks the cloth in cool water with 1 drop of lavender oil and lays it across the little girl's brow. Then she hums. The tune is simple and old in the way a thing becomes old because a family uses it. Daniel stops moving because he knows that melody. His late wife made a silly version of it when Emma was a baby, and it could turn tears into hiccup laughs. He sits down hard in the armchair and puts his hand over his mouth. He did not plan to cry. He cries anyway, quiet and clean. Victoria's humming shakes once when she sees him, then steadies, and she hums until Emma sleeps. "I'm sorry," he says after a long breath, wiping his face with his sleeve. "You couldn't know." She shakes her head a little. "I didn't have to know," she says. Some songs find their way back. The quiet after does not feel empty. It feels like a field after rain. Something under the soil can breathe again. The days grow their own shape. Work, school, dishes, baths. 2 books at bedtime now because Emma wants one read in Daniel's voice and one in Victoria's voice, and it feels wrong to choose. No one says the big words. They do not have to. The small ones do the job. Here, home, eat, rest, yours, ours. The letter arrives in a white envelope that looks like it could hold a bill or a card. Daniel opens it at the kitchen counter and has to put both hands down to steady himself. A full scholarship. 1 year in Oregon. Certification that could move him from night shifts that eat his bones to a steady day with better pay and more breath. Pride hits first and makes his chest big. Fear hits after and squeezes it smaller. Opportunity is a door. Doors mean walking away from something to reach something else. He keeps the letter in his pocket for 3 days. He touches it through the fabric like a coin he needs to remember. He watches Emma draw houses with yellow doors and cats that fly. He watches Victoria braid Emma's hair and then undo it when Emma says it hurts and then braid it again softer. He keeps thinking of the bench in the park because some news needs sky. At the park, while Emma chases bubbles that the wind keeps stealing, he says it. "I got a scholarship," he tells them, his voice soft and tight. "A year, Oregon." He stops because the next words find a wall in his throat. "I don't want you to think I'm leaving because now that things feel steady for me, He cannot finish. He looks at the ground. Victoria puts her hand over his on the bench. "Daniel," she says, and his name holds him up. "This is good news," he nods. She waits for him to look at her. When he does, she says, "Loving someone doesn't mean holding them still. It means helping them fly." The sentence lands in him and breaks something open and mends something else at the same time. He nods again, deeper. He lets himself breathe all the way out. The night before he leaves, they eat pasta by candlelight because Emma says that is how all good things start in this family. After dinner, they make a paper chain out of white strips and Emma writes numbers on each loop, one for each week. She wears the chain like a necklace and laughs, and then her eyes get big and serious the way children's eyes do when they feel the size of time. When Daniel kneels to hug her goodbye, she runs instead into Victoria's arms and whispers into her neck, "You're not far. Daddy says hearts don't care about distance." Victoria closes her eyes and holds the child, and looks at Daniel with a gaze that says every word they do, not say out loud. He leaves with a suitcase and a lunch and a promise. In his pocket, he does not need to write down. He works, he studies, he learns. He takes the hard streets and walks them enough times that they turn soft. He sends Emma videos of rain sliding down a bus window and of a bird that sits on the same sign every morning like it is his. Emma mails drawings of a purple cat flying over a map where Boston and Oregon are connected by a dotted line of stars. Victoria sends photos of boxes and labels, and once, a picture of Emma asleep on the couch with a book still open on her chest, and a line of drool on the pillow that Daniel finds perfect. 1 year later, Boston looks the same and feels different. It is not the buildings, it is him. He puts on a white coat and clips an ID badge to it that says Daniel Carter, Certified Medical Technician. He touches the badge like it could float away and needs help staying. An envelope sits on his desk in the morning with his name written in a hand he knows. Rooftop Garden, 3 p.m., product launch. Her first spoon, Sterling Organics. He goes, lights are strung like a low star sky. Tables hold cups of fruit and soft-colored boxes with soft words. On each box is a simple shape of a woman holding a child and a spoon, and under it a line that hits him harder than he expects. For the women who stayed hungry to feed hope. He stands toward the back where he can see everything. Victoria stands at a small podium and her voice fills the space not by being loud but by being true. She talks about nutrition. She talks about dignity. She talks about second chances without using the phrase, and he hears it anyway. In the middle of it, her eyes find his. The noise turns down for a second like the world knows to be quiet now. When the speech ends, people come to her with questions. She moves through them with grace and stops when she reaches him. "I wasn't sure you'd come," she says. "I wasn't sure you'd want me here," he answers, honest as ever. She smiles like the sun decided to stay a little longer. "Impossible," she says, and reaches into her pocket for a small velvet box. She does not kneel. She does not make a scene. She opens it to show a plain ring with a small stone. "I don't want to rescue you," she says, voice low and steady. "I want to stay if you want me to." He looks at her face and sees the nights of soup and songs, the mornings of cereal and sticky hands, the days of texts that say, "How did it go?" and the evenings that end with, "We're here." He does not need to measure himself against her. He does not need to count money in his head. He says yes with a voice that sounds like home. That night they go back to the restaurant with navy linens and candles in small glass cups. The same table by the window is theirs. It does not feel like a loop. It feels like a road that led them here on purpose. Daniel sits beside Victoria. Emma sits across from them and kicks her shoes against the chair and tells the server with full ceremony, "We will have the famous pasta because it started our story." The server smiles in a way that says he remembers something from a long time ago and is glad to see the ending. Victoria leans to Daniel and says, "Order what you want. We eat tonight for the man who waited and the girl who believed." Emma pulls a folded paper from her backpack, smooths it on the table, and shows a drawing of 3 stick figures holding hands under a roof with a yellow door. "This is us," she says. "Daddy, Mommy, and me. She says mommy like it never belonged to anyone else. Daniel looks at the drawing, then at the two faces in the candlelight, and feels something finish knitting itself inside him. A year ago, he came to this room with $50 and a hope he tried to hide in his pocket. Tonight, he holds everything that hope was begging for and more than he knew how to ask for. Not a rescue. Not a fairy tale. A quiet miracle made of small, brave choices and one kind act that tipped a life by a few degrees in a better direction. In the weeks after, life does not turn perfect. It turns full. There are early alarms and lost socks and bills to pay, and a bookshelf that leans until Daniel fixes it, and a faucet that drips until Victoria finds the right washer. There is laughter in rooms that used to hear only the sound of a TV and the hum of a fridge. There's a balcony where they eat pancakes on plates that do not match, and watch a streetlight turn everything gold at 9. Emma sticks glow-in-the-dark stars to the bedroom ceiling with a stool and bad aim, and declares that now the sky lives inside too. They lie on the floor that first night. Lights off, hands touching, fake stars above, real stars cut into a square of window, and the city makes a soft song below. Daniel takes the $50 bill and puts it back in the envelope behind the socks. He smiles as he slides the drawer shut. He knows emergencies will come, because that is what life does, but he also knows the difference now between being alone with trouble and having 2 more people in the boat when the water rises. He learns to eat slower, to listen longer, to let Emma tell a whole story with 100 pieces in it before he asks for the point. He lets Victoria pick the music while he makes pancakes and lets her change it halfway through because her eyes say the first song was not the right one for this morning. Sometimes, in a quiet minute at work, he thinks about the first night and the messages that cut like cold glass. He does not think of the person who sent them. He thinks of the person who sent dinner to a man he could have walked past. He thinks of the way kindness can be a door, not a trophy. He thinks of a simple truth he can carry in his coat. Showing up is not small. It is the start of everything. He tells Emma a story she loves about a bird that thought it was falling until it realized the wind under its wings was a friend. She says, again. And he tells it again, and Victoria listens like she has never heard it, even when she has heard it 100 times. They buy a yellow doormat for the new apartment and say it is a joke and then realize it is not. It is a sign to themselves. This is a house where people arrive and are met at the door. If you walked by their building at night and looked up, you would see nothing famous. You would see 3 people washing dishes and laughing because Emma made a bubble mountain in the sink that looks like a dragon. You would see light through curtains and a paper chain hanging from a bookshelf with a few links left because they keep it to remember a year when distance tried and failed to win. You would see a man in a white coat hanging it on the back of a chair and a woman in a soft sweater taking off her shoes and a little girl singing a song that found its way back to the room where it started. And if you sit tonight at a table by a window with a candle that shakes, if you wait for someone who does not come, remember this. There may be a plate on its way you did not order. There may be a voice that says the one sentence you need to hear to stand up and keep going. There may be a stranger who will not let you stay invisible. And if none of that happens, remember this too. You showed up. You believed enough to walk in and sit down. That matters. That starts things you cannot see yet. Daniel once walked in with $50 and a thin hope he kept hidden like it might break if someone looked at it. He walked out of that year with a white coat, a steady hand, a daughter who believes paper chains can hold time in place until you come back, and a partner who did not try to save him from gravity. She walked beside him until he remembered what it felt like to stand tall without pretending. This is not a fairy tale. It is what happens when kindness meets courage and both say yes. If you feel this, hold it close. Tell someone you love them. Buy a meal for someone who is trying not to break. Ask a question in a room that makes you feel small. Send a message that says, I am here if you need me. And when the world makes you think you are only worth the price of an Uber, answer it with a fork in your hand and a sentence you speak to yourself, even if no one else hears it. I deserve to eat. I deserve to be seen. I deserve to be here.